Sergeant Maya Torres pressed her back against the crumbling wall of what used to be a hospital and counted her remaining ammunition by feel, because there wasn't enough light left to count it any other way. 4 rounds. 4 rounds, a dead radio, and 11 civilians huddled behind her in a basement that wasn't going to hold if the Zareth breached the perimeter one more time. Overhead, the sky over New Manila burned orange with weapons fire that didn't belong to any human military. 6 hours ago, the Zareth Dominion's first invasion wave had broken through Earth's outer defense grid. A grid built, everyone had assumed, to withstand exactly this. It hadn't. Not because the technology failed, but because nobody had expected the Zarath to attack with fewer than a tenth of the force's intelligence had predicted, and to do it with a precision that suggested they already knew exactly where Earth's defenses were weakest. Someone had given them that information. Maya didn't know who yet. She only knew that trust was the first casualty of this war, and it had died before a single shot was fired. A voice crackled weakly through her dead radio. Euros impossible, since the radio was dead, until she realized the sound wasn't coming from the radio at all. It was coming from outside, amplified, alien, translated into halting but clear English. Human Commander. This is Fleet Speaker Ael Voren of the Zareth Dominion. We did not come to destroy your species. We came because we were told your species had already destroyed one of ours. I would very much like to know why that isn't true. Maya lowered her weapon, not because the threat was gone, but because for the first time since the invasion began, she understood that this war might have started with a lie. None of it made any sense yet, though. To understand how an interstellar invasion nearly destroyed a city over a fabricated crime that never happened, you had to go back 4 months to a diplomatic meeting where 2 civilizations were introduced to each other for the very first time a Euros, and where someone in that room had already decided that peace was the one outcome they couldn't allow. Earth's first contact with the Zareth Dominion had gone better than almost anyone expected. The Zareth were a cautious, deeply structured society, organized around a strict code of accountability that punished dishonesty in their ranks more severely than almost any other crime. When their scout fleet encountered Earth 4 months before the invasion, initial talks were slow but promising. Fleet Speaker Ael Voren, leading the Zareth delegation, had genuinely believed the 2 species were on a path toward alliance. What Ael didn't know was that a third party had been watching those talks with growing alarm. The Threll Combine, a powerful trading confederation with decades-old economic dominance over the sector, had spent years profiting from an arrangement that depended on the Zareth Dominion and the wider galactic community remaining isolated from unaligned species like Earth. A Zareth-Earth alliance threatened that arrangement directly. A Euros, new trade routes, new technology exchange, new competition the Threll Combine had no interest in allowing to develop. Ambassador Corin Vesh, the Threll Combine's senior representative to the Zarath Dominion, made a decision that would cost thousands of lives before it was ever discovered. Using forged sensor data and a fabricated eyewitness account, Corin convinced the Zareth High Command that a human research vessel had deliberately destroyed an unarmed Zareth scout ship during a supposed routine survey. A Euro, an act of unprovoked aggression, the Zareth's rigid honor code demanded be answered. It was a lie built on careful, patient manipulation, and it worked exactly as Corin intended. Fleet Speaker Ael Voren had argued against immediate retaliation, insisting on a formal investigation before any military response. He was overruled by High Marshal Detha Kren, a hardline Zareth commander who had never trusted the human talks in the first place, and who saw the fabricated attack as confirmation of everything she'd warned her government about. We gave them the chance to prove themselves honorable, Kren told the War Council. They answered with violence against an unarmed vessel. Our code does not permit us to ignore that. Ael tried one final time to slow the response. Marshal, the evidence arrived through a third party. We haven't verified anything independently. If we're wrong. A Euros, if we're wrong, Kren said. We will have taught a young, unpredictable species that the Dominion cannot be provoked without consequence. That lesson has value even if the details prove imperfect. It was the kind of reasoning that made sense within the rigid structure of Zareth military doctrine, and made no sense at all to anyone who valued a single innocent life over a demonstration of strength. Ael Voren lost the vote, and 6 days later, the invasion of Earth began. What neither Corin Vesh nor High Marshal Kren anticipated was how humanity would respond to an invasion built on a lie neither side yet understood. Earth's Unified Defense Command, led by General Priya Malhotra, made a decision in the war's opening hours that shaped everything that followed. Rather than responding purely with maximum force, Malhotra ordered every unit capable of doing so to prioritize both defense and the preservation of enemy lives wherever possible, specifically instructing forces to attempt capture over destruction whenever the tactical situation allowed it. It was a controversial order. Colonel Ben Okafor, commanding Earth's primary defense line, questioned it directly during the war's darkest hour. "General, they're trying to wipe out an entire city. Why are we still holding back? Because if this war ends with both sides believing the other is simply an enemy to be destroyed," Malhotra said, "we lose even if we win. I want prisoners, Colonel. I want answers. Something about this attack doesn't add up, and dead soldiers can't tell us why they came." That order became the turning point of the entire war, though no one recognized it yet. 6 hours into the invasion, a Zareth assault team pinned down near what remained of New Manila's central hospital found itself surrounded not destroyed but surrounded, by a human unit under Sergeant Maya Torres's command that had deliberately disabled, rather than killed 3 wounded Zareth soldiers during the fighting. It was that captured unit's senior officer, a young Zareth soldier named Issa Bren, who first raised doubts to her own commanders about the war's justification. After Maya Torres with limited supplies, exhausted, and having every reason to see her captives as nothing but the enemy chose instead to share what little medical care she had left with the wounded Zareth soldiers rather than her own exhausted unit. "Why?" Issa asked her, genuinely confused, as Maya knelt beside her, treating a wound with supplies Maya's own team badly needed. "We invaded your world. We killed your people." "Because whatever brought you here," Maya said quietly. "I don't think it was hatred. I've seen hatred before. This doesn't look like that. It looks like someone was lied to. It was the first crack in a war built entirely on deception of Euros, and it was about to widen far faster than anyone on either side expected." Fleet Speaker A.L. Voren's direct transmission to Maya Torres, 3 hours later, wasn't the only communication racing across New Manila's ruined skyline that night. Issa Bren, still in human custody, but granted a secure channel by General Malhotra's personal order, relayed everything she'd witnessed directly to ALA, including detailed observations that didn't match the picture of a hostile, aggressive human military that High Marshal Kren's War Council had been given. A.L. Voren made the hardest decision of his command that night. He ordered an immediate, unilateral ceasefire of his own forces, in direct defiance of High Marshal Kren's standing orders, and requested emergency contact with General Malhotra to formally reopen the investigation Kren had refused to authorize. What that investigation ultimately uncovered forged sensor logs, a fabricated witness statement, and financial records tracing Ambassador Corin Vesh's actions directly back to Threll Combine leadership desperate to prevent a Zareth-Human Alliance didn't just end the war. It exposed a manipulation that had cost the lives of over 300 people on both sides, before the truth finally caught up to the lie that started it. High Marshal Detha Kren resigned her command within a week, publicly acknowledging that her eagerness to prove Zareth's strength had made her an easy target for exactly the kind of manipulation her own honor code was supposed to guard against. It was, by every account, the hardest and most honest thing she had ever done in her long military career. The peace agreement that followed wasn't just a ceasefire. It became the foundation for one of the strongest alliances either species would ever build not despite the war, but because both sides had chosen, in its final hours, to value truth and mercy over pride and retaliation. Sergeant Maya Torres never framed herself as any kind of hero. When asked, months later, what she wanted people to remember about the day the invasion nearly destroyed her city, her answer was simple, and it was the line that would eventually be carved into the memorial. Built where the hospital basement once stood. "We didn't stop an invasion by being stronger than the people who came to destroy us," she said. "We stopped it by refusing to become the kind of people who would have done the same thing to them."